I wish I had a safety bar. Looks like it's another project for my younger life. Stay tuned. So I picked up this Moen brand grab bar at the local hardware store. Pretty inexpensive. Just depends on your need, honestly. And here are directions. Pretty straightforward. We're going to find the stud. Well, you'll need to find a stud. You'll remove the caps from the bar itself. We're going to drill the holes, put the screws in, replace the caps, and we're done. Easy peasy. Here we go. Here's my bar. Pretty simple design, small but strong, and inexpensive. And here's an example. If you cannot find a stud and you're having to put this between studs, you need to attach a piece of wood molding, something really strong. You'll attach that wood molding to your studs in the wall, and then you'll attach your grab bar to that molding. But I don't need to on mine. This whole end piece here I know is a solid 2x4 stud, because that's how the wall has to be made. The end has to be a solid piece. So I'm pretty safe attaching this here, and I won't even need anchors or anything to hold that in place in the sheetrock, because I know the sheetrock is directly over that 2x4 stud. I need to find my middle. Not too hard. This wall is, we know it's a 2x4 wall with sheetrock on each side, so it's not too big. And we're going to replace it. Check it again. You'll notice that I do this multiple times. I want to make sure I've got this where I want it to go. Looks like it's in a good place. Placement is very important. In an emergency situation, you need to be able to grab that if you feel like you're falling. Next, I'm going to check again. Got my height right. Want to make sure I'm in the middle. I've got to remove these caps so I can access the holes for the screws to make my marks. Pretty simple. A little tab here that we just need to use a small flathead to pop them off. Yours may not have that. Depends on what you purchase. The bottom and the top piece. Again, not too hard. Now I can access that hole for the screws so I can position it correctly and drill those pilot holes for my screws. Like I said, this one wasn't very expensive. They range from $15 up to, gosh, $120, $150, depending on the strength, the length that you need, the type. This one's plastic, but it is very, very sturdy. The longer it is, though, the more durable the material needs to be. That's simple physics. Well, there we go again. Marking again. I know I've done this once, but I want to really make sure I can see it, really make sure it's in the right place. Here we are. Mark our holes where we need to drill that pilot hole for the screws so they'll go in a little more smoothly. Really is important that you pre-drill. Most of the screws in these pieces are not very durable, so you really want to make sure that you get a good hole. Also make sure that your drill bit is longer than mine. I will tell you, biggest mistake I made in this install was my drill bit was too short, and that forced my screw into the 2x4 underneath the sheetrock without a pilot hole, and it made it really hard to get the screw in all the way. I even stripped one of them out a little bit. It did go in far enough to work for me because there are 4 screws in this, and this is my screw bit. Now this is an old drill, I know, but it is an amazing drill. My battery one was not charged for this, so I pulled out my old Faithful. But with this is a different type of chuck. It has a key for it that you have to have. Then we're going to screw that back up I'll show you again in a moment. But double checking, I need to make sure that my bottom is in line with the top before I screw this in all the way. I'm even going to break out my handy level. I love using a level if you haven't noticed that. I'm going to check the bubble on the top to make sure that my grab bar is in fact perpendicular to the floor. And I'm going to make sure it's the right distance from the corners of my wall. And if you don't have access to a tape measure, you can use something like I'm using this flat carpenter pencil and holding it to make sure that everything is the same all over. It'll work, really, honestly. I use this method a lot. I'm going to make my marks with my drill. Again, it would have been better to have had a long drill bit here. I do recommend that wholeheartedly. This will help me line things up a little better, though. Mark my other two places now that I have that hole lined up. And I'm going to drill those holes as well. Notice I've got that top screw in just enough to use as a pivot on that grab bar. I know now I will have it always in the same place for the most part. You won't have to try and hold it freestanding. I do most all of my stuff by myself, so I try to learn tips and tricks to make this easier for a one-person install. I have all of those holes now, and my screw bit is now in my drill. And I'm just going to put these screws in my pilot holes. I do recommend that you not tighten these up all the way until you get all four in where they're supposed to be. Never, when you have multiple screws, multiple bolts in something, never tighten them all down one at a time. You want to loosely get one in and then loosely get the other and get them all in line and then slowly work each one tight as you go, going back and forth. I'm going to double check my distances. Now's the time to change things if they're wrong. With those top and bottom screws in, it's easier to move one or two than all four. And now I'm going to start tightening them down just a little bit each. I'm kind of getting that bottom one in and top one in there before I do the other two, but they're not going to be completely screwed down. But I know they're in the right place now. Just to give you an idea how this goes, a washer goes over the screw, and then the screw goes in the wall. This is such a simple install. I can't stress this enough, how easy this is to do, especially if you have a 2x4 right there like I do. Now I'm going to try to use my body weight so that I don't strip that screw head out. Lean into it really well. And like I said, I did have trouble with one of them, so you're going to see me having to really work that one. Once a screw starts losing its grip, once the bit starts biting on the head of that screw, you need to let off and stop immediately. Don't keep grinding on that. You will strip it out into a circle and you won't be able to get it out or in. You'll be stuck. So make sure when that happens that you pull off. Even if you have to, back it all the way out, go find another screw, a different one that you can use. I need to take my own advice sometimes. This one screw I did thoroughly mess up, but I check, everything's holding firm. I feel comfortable that with that one screw, not all the way in, the other three are still doing their job. And you can see that I really give this thing some hard tugs to make sure it's going to protect me and my husband when we get in and out of here. We may have to rely on it one day to keep us from taking a horrible fall. I'm going to replace these decorative clips so those screws don't show. And no one knows that one of them isn't in there, right? Correct? But it's pretty firm. I really feel comfortable with this grab bar that's going to keep us safe. Place that bottom one. Looks pretty good. Pretty pleased with it. Everything's flush. I'm going to make sure that it's going to serve its purpose here. Getting in and out of this tub is going to be so much easier. Thank you guys for watching my channel. If you want more of this, type of content, please click that subscribe button. I really appreciate it.